All right,
We're
first,
good to go.
all right, let's get our sponsors knocked off.
Okay.
Uh, Thank you to Brian Curl Basketball. Curly doing great things down here. He's got the academy. He's got the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island 3-on-3 tournament coming up, the Olympic camp. Thank you, Brian Curl. Also to Chris Weir at FIT Education. All of our kids at the academy are up to work, up to date with their work. Anyone looking to get into the fitness game or any other things, he is the RTO on the go. Thank you, Chris Weir. And to our good friend Ryan Stolberg, who will drop eventually. He and Marcus Bell Chambers, when we're looking to really kind of reduce our listenership, we will put that up. Uh, Boom. But big dog sports, we have a big shortage of courts. Um, and you want to have your own basketball court, go to Big Dog. Um, Now, we've got a very special guest, Stevie. Why don't I hand it over to you?
Yeah, well, we have Mr. Nigel Purchase. Welcome to the Reverse Pivot podcast.
Thank you,
We,
fellas.
yeah, look, and we go way back with Nigel. Obviously, Bruce will go a bit further back, but I probably got to know you a little bit when you spent some time up here in Brisbane. And so our goal today, I mean, Nigel, like there's you sent through a little bullet point, but there's more to you in the basketball world than in the few little bullet points there. And my tremendous research has dug in and found out that you made 250 games you played in the NBL over 10 years. Is that correct?
Round about that, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and mate, not only that, and when I look at it, yeah, you were a bit of a scorer in your day, for again, for not necessarily someone who would have people you didn't start in a lot of your teams. You were very much off the bench for a lot of the time, correct?
It was strange because and Bruce would know my career better than most. We coached, and first, I just want to say thanks for having me on, by the way, because I've done a bit of research into the podcast that you guys have done, and I really actually really enjoyed listening to Shane Froling and his story. And Shane became a friend of mine when we played in Brisbane with Bruce back in whenever it was, and
But that
now
was
Shane's son
that
Harry's
was
playing.
yeah, that was a special podcast because he really shared a lot about his life, and I thought it was very emotional. To be honest, it was a big podcast for us with Shane.
Yeah, and he's in basketball, from what I can gather and garner from that podcast, is that basketball really saved him, and it's funny when you listen to you guys interview people that I know. Shane refers to a bunch of people that I know, the Caddies and Barry
Yes.
Barnes, and we all know. So we're all part of this one big basketball family. But look, you've had Gorgon on and Timsy and all these great people on. So I appreciate you asking me to get in and have a chat. And I hope it's interesting. I hope I can make it interesting for the people that are tuning in. But from
Yeah,
a
but mate,
playing
you
point of
you
view,
you you've got an incredible connection to the game. What you're doing, we'll get into what you're doing with Chase basketball in a moment. And we really, it's been going 25 years as or more. I think but I think as a company called Chase, it's 25 years, isn't it, this year?
that's right. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So we'll get into that. We want to promote what you're doing, and Bruce and I are doing this because we started off and we had a very name that YouTube didn't like, which was called Violations and Insults, and we've pivoted to the reverse pivot, which seems to be much more accepted by the social media world out there. And I guess we did this just for a bit of tongue in cheek, but it's actually become really important to Bruce and I. The conversations that we're having, as you said, it's one big family, but the the people that we've been having on the podcast, and I think you're very much like one of them. Don't talk yourself down, and because your contribution, we'll get into the Pete's Bar and your connection with the Gazers and all that sort of stuff, incredible stuff. So, mate, this is about you. We're probably going to start off. Tell us a little bit with what you're doing today, and we'll deep dive back into your career. But I'll just mention mate, you're nearly averaged a double-double. So your career average is 8.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 3.4 assists a game. Man, I think I played one game and averaged 1 point and 10 fouls a game. But made an incredible contribution, but we'll get into that. So let's just start with
Before we
Chase.
get stuck into, and you talking about yourself, Steve, I met your son, Jack, at the Bullets launch. Steve and I were invited down. That's one thing the Bullets do really well. They include, yesterday's players and coaches and everybody that's involved in it. I didn't realize Jack's 6'9". He's huge, man.
Yeah, he's we're really, and Bruce, we've all been through the NBL, and it's I'm just super proud of him, and I'm just so happy that the Bullets have seen what I've seen for a number of years now, and that he's certainly an NBL player. 2 years ago or thereabouts, Jack wanted to get back in the NBL, and he's been working for 2 years on his body. So he had a bit of a stint at Melbourne United, Adelaide, and he had a year contract with Perth, but for whatever reason didn't get it go, and that's just sort of the way it got. The way it goes, we said, Jack, you got to get stronger. So he's been working for 2 years on his body, and now he's got chest and shoulders and arms, and he looks like an NBL ready athlete. So I'm super proud that he's stuck it out and he's still going, and I feel good because I've got a bit of history with the Bullets, so that's nice for me as well.
Yeah,
And
you recall when I tried to get him to the Brisbane Capitals in the NBL 1. And of course, I'm looking, maybe he could really help. And I thought it would really help him, but then no money. And where are you going to live? Because that was the discussion I had with he and, oh God, who's the other rookie? It wasn't Mark's son, Mark Bradkey's son, but it was all about where have you guys started looking for somewhere to live up here? Because, it's hard to find a rental property. And the expense of the rental property was like, man, I'm not going to do this to a kid, bring him up here. And, we only practice 2 days a week, games on weekend. You're going to be broke. So, but I'm like you, I'm really happy because I saw him playing. He was playing with Dave Johnson, DJ. How many years ago now are we talking about? 3 years ago? And I thought, wow, the length and everything would really help with what that team needed. But I couldn't do that to somebody. You know what I mean? I got come on up here and live in destitute while you work on your game. And there's, now he's with the Bullets with Greg and D-Mac. D-Mac, by the way, is going to be coming on as a guest, as will Greg down the road. And now we're going to pivot. I want to take it to, before we get into Chase about.
So, but can I comment about Jack? I mean, I'm sorry I didn't get to say hi to him, but he walked past, and one, I couldn't believe how tall he was, but two, he had just a shirt on, and he looks great. As you said, he's like an NBL athlete. In fact, I was pleased to see, like a whole bunch of the Bullets guys, they looked in shape, really do. So we try not to get too excited each year, Nige, that the team might be okay because we've been burnt quite a lot as Bullets fans. But we'll touch everything timber that we can, but it's looking positive this year, and certainly I was super impressed. I went back and I streamed the game that Jack just played the Tigers with. They won in overtime, wasn't it? Mate, he was huge, Nige. He was huge down the stretch. Wow, big shots.
Who are they going to play in the final, Nigel?
Sandringham. So they got Barlow's coaching them, and they're pretty much Melbourne United. I call them Sandringham United, and
okay,
and they're really, they got a really good bunch of kids, like players, and they're well coached. And Reece Carter sits on the bench with Barlow. Barlow still plays a little bit here and there. It'll be a really good game. We beat Knox in the prelim. I call it the semi when it's down to 4 teams. All this new terminology does my head in. And Tommy Wilson did great, and then Tommy had enough faith in Jack to knock down a NBA length 3 to win it, and then Jack got the last rebound. But it's a real, and Bruce knows Tigers basketball better than most. It's very much a team orientated style of play. And Andrew, it's not the traditional shuffle, but there's variations on that run, and there's a lot of movement without the ball and screening. It's all about angles and timing, and Jack's very good at that. And I'm just wrapped that Jack's up in Brisbane. One, because D-Mac's there and he's a passer, so he would appreciate what Jack can do from a passing sense. He can knock down the three ball, and strangely enough, he actually has a higher percentage when he's contested rather than by himself and has an open look. Oddly enough, and I just look forward to seeing him have a crack. And we love the Bullets, and there's been a bit of a tradition with the transfer of players between the Bullets and the Tigers over time. And the Tigers were in the NBL with Sibley would probably be the most famous one there, and a few others. So
is that
set
a
up.
best
I
of
can't
three?
stop.
Yeah, the thing with Sandringham, the final, is it a one game or is it best of three?
It's one game. It's sold out at State Basketball Centre. We've got about probably 3,000 people coming to it, so it'll be a big event.
When is it?
I hear there's
When is it?
tomorrow night, well, Saturday night. I don't want to date stamp this podcast, but yeah, it's tomorrow night. And I hear
Okay.
that Bryce Cotton's coming in, and a few of the NBL boys are coming in to watch as well. And as tradition would have it, Bruce, and you'd appreciate this, it's also Lindsay's birthday tomorrow on the day of the grand final. And I've got a little tribute back here over my shoulder, and that's Lindsay's singlet when he played for Australia, and the old church singlet, which was the original name of the Melbourne Tigers. And it's just some of the memorabilia I've got in my office here, and I thought it would be, Bruce is a fan of Lindsay, I'd imagine, and sort of changed his life.
How can you not be a fan of Lindsay and what he's contributed to the game of basketball in Australia? I mean, is there anyone that's contributed more? I mean, well, I guess that'll be debated, but for me, Lindsay Gay's, holy moly, like he's up there as just the people that he's brought into the game, like the Bruces and the Gorgons, that have contributed so much to basketball in Australia. Mate, Lindsay, I take my hat off to him, mate. How is he travelling these days? And he must be in his 80s, is he?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure how old he'll be tomorrow. I think it'd be 88 or 89. He's mentally he's switched on. I haven't seen him much for the past 3 or 4 months. His vision is very, very poor. I'm trying to think of the right terminology, but he's essentially blind, which is really sad. And then, I heard on one of your other podcasts about Queensland basketball and how you're 270 boards short of demand. And the thing I talk about with Lindsay way back when Bruce first came out to Australia is that Lindsay and Ken Watson had this vision of building basketball courts. And Victoria has the best, which I think this will be Lindsay's biggest legacy, because if you got courts, you got kids playing. And so in Victoria, and I might be misquoting, but we've got somewhere between 1,100 to 1,200 community courts, and it's growing 50 to 100 courts every year. And they're at chock a block. They're 100% at capacity, and that's Lindsay's legacy. That's the way they set that up way back in the day, to give autonomy to the associations and work with local and state government to make that happen has been phenomenal. We're all reasonably well travelled, and I've been around, Europe and America, and you don't get what we have in Victoria anywhere else in the world. In the States, they have the big stadiums, but it's just one court. We have State Basketball Centre, as an example, tomorrow night. It's got 18 basketball courts, and here at MSAC in my office, I've got 12 basketball courts here, and I've been to LA and seen some of the venues there, but they're kind of retrofitted. And but these are basketball specific courts, and it's been really incredible what Lindsay's been able to do for basketball in this state. And as a result, programs and state teams, and that's why Victoria plays a fairly dominant role in the sport around the country.
Nigel, we did Al Westover. That'll be dropping soon. Another one of our teammates, another person that Lindsay helped greatly. And he's saying with all those courts that you just mentioned, there's not enough.
No, it's not. And it's and they, like I said, they're building.
Yeah, you're You're
Yeah,
well
it's
set up in
amazing.
Victoria, aren't you? But you still don't have enough.
Yeah, it's incredible. Every kid plays basketball. I think most people around Australia think of Victoria as maybe an AFL state or cricket or whatever, but it's actually a basketball state. There's so many kids playing the game, and it's so healthy for me. I've got this business where we teach kids how to play and try to mentor them, but it puts us in a healthy position to be able to help so many kids, and just so many good things about basketball that we can easily talk
Well,
about.
let's get into Chase, because really, and that's what the purpose is, to help promote you and the great things you do at Pete's Bar, man. You're one of the best MCs that I've been around. Witty, you drive the whole conversation with the guests. Are you on that committee first? Are you on that committee as well?
Yeah, we had a meeting on Wednesday night. We've got Warwick Giddy this year. Warwick Giddy's going to come in and have a chat. We think we've got Ezzy, Darren Smith, and we've got Jenny Sager, the new CEO of the WNBL, coming along. It's a really good day, as you know, Bruce. You've been in there, and I've interviewed you, and it was actually a very touching moment with you because, I asked you when you were down what if you had any regrets about your coaching or whatever, and you said about the referees. And then we had, 10 or 5 or 7 of the referees come up and give you a hug. It was just a nice moment, I thought. So thanks for coming down to that. And it was a great moment.
But let's get into Chase now, and then we'll get back into that Pete's Bar stuff, because I think it's. Do you go to the schools and work with the teachers, or do you go there and actually do clinics? Is it with schools, or is it you get the venue and bring the kids to you?
Well, we have this. We're kind of morphing. The basketball in Victoria is changing because everyone's trying to coach and set up basketball programs. So we've been able to lead the way in some areas, and also you need to pivot to make yourself relevant. And our motto is doing the right thing. Like you, Bruce, I'm heavily influenced by the Gaze family, and so we try to represent the sport really well and make it accessible to everyone. So we're a volume business. So we try to keep the cost down and get lots of numbers coming to our programs. So we try to represent the sport appropriately, and we try to mentor the youth as well. We have a byline which is an Indigenous term, and I won't say it because I'll muck it up, but it means to play is to belong. So we're trying to make kids feel good about themselves, love the sport. We teach them how to shoot and pass and dribble and play. But we have 4 or 5 different revenue streams or programs. We manage some small courts, some venues, which we fill up with our programs and hire out to third parties. We do basketball camps, which everyone's doing down here, and I'm sure you guys do it up there as well. And we're trying to evolve that so that it's still relevant. We do skills programs on a weekly basis, and we have I don't know how many kids, but probably 200 kids involved in that. And the thing that we do is with the schools, we go because a lot of schools in Victoria, secondary schools, have courts. They have 1 or 2 courts that are, they're good. They're good venues, and so we actually work for the school. The school helps promote it in conjunction with us. We've got 12 academies so about 300 kids we coach for 3 hours per week. Our motto is that education is the most important thing, so we don't compromise that. Some of the academies down here take kids out of class and put them into basketball programs, which is fine. But our policy is that we do coaching before school, then they go off to class. So there's 7 a.m. sessions. They go for 3 hours a week, 32 weeks of the year. And we're really proud of that. And that's probably our main focus moving forward, is to keep on developing these programs. And the thing that I love about it, Bruce, and you're a philosophical sort of guy, and I feel honored that you're interviewing me today, Bruce, because I grew up watching you and seeing you coach, and also be the court announcer at the old Albert Park Stadium and everything, which I'd love to talk about. But it is the effect, the positive effect you can have on kids through sport, and our platform is basketball, is so important. And the thing that I say to people when we're talking about my business and about sort of the modern status of society is that when I was a kid, probably the 3 most important people in your life as far as an influence were your mum and dad, maybe someone, a religious leader, and your teacher. And I think that's still relevant to a large part. But I think a basketball coach or a sports coach can be a really important part in the lives of young people. And so we are very cognizant of that and work towards playing a positive role in the lives of these kids.
Well,
And
you
yeah,
touch
we
young
love it.
people's lives, like you've got to be careful how you say things today, but like when I mean touch people's life, like you leave an imprint on their heart that they will remember when they're 30, 40, 50, 60. They will remember attending your camp and I guess it's something Bruce and I talk about a bit. We talk about the love of the game all the time. You want people to love the game, but there's just so many opportunities now, Nigel, that when we grew up, I mean, Victoria's always had, you know, as you said, you've always been a great basketball state. Um, but just the opportunity to go to college and all these academies, and this didn't exist in our day. And there's so much opportunity for people to be employed in our game. So everyone thinks, hey, I'm going to make the WNBA or the NBA, and that's a lovely dream to have. But as you know, you've probably got a better chance being an astronaut. But but just the opportunity to travel the world, to the mateship, like basketball is our friendship, you don't have to spend a lot of time with people at basketball and they're your friend for life.
Yeah. And I that's what I say to my Jack, and he trained here with the Tigers last night in preparation for the final, and I drove him back to where he's staying, and I said, "Oh, I'm doing a podcast today with Bruce, right? And you, but I know Bruce. He knows Bruce." He goes, "I think I met Bruce at the thing the other night." And he
Yeah.
goes, "I said, yeah, was he a slightly balding, really handsome bloke?" And no, I didn't say that. And, and he said hello, and I think, and so then I carry on with my memories of Bruce. And one of the things as a coach, whether you're at NBL or national level, or whether it's an under 12 C grade team, is you never know at the time, you never know the impact you're having on those individuals. And Bruce, I remember so much about when I was with Bruce. I wasn't the greatest player, in all honesty. I was very fortunate to get picked up by Brisbane. I'm a system-based player. I played for the Tigers and can pass and run back on defense while Andrew shot. So I was very fortunate to play under Bruce. But there's so many things from that year that I remember and I'll never forget. And I think that's the same at whatever level you're playing, is that the coach and the impact that the coach can have on the kid is immense. So you should never take that lightly, and you should never just say, "Oh, this is the third team in the under 12s or 14s or the B grade team," because you're having an impact on that person. And you're right, Steve. Could be 20 or 30 or 40 years later. If someone says, "I remember when you said whatever," whatever, and you're like, "Well, really," So it's an important role in society that we play as basketball coaches.
Well,
So
there's more
Jack,
jobs today, right? Sorry, Bruce. There's more jobs today in the game, but it affects them if you go out into the world outside of basketball. What type of person that sport has? I just think it enables people, male or female, to deal with, every day is not a win. Like you don't win every day in sport. And I think one of the greatest attributes of sports people is how you deal with losing, right?
Yes.
What do we do with losing? You get up the next day, you shrug it, you wipe it off, and you turn up to training, don't you? Look, some people, and I've had a pretty extensive career corporately, they just don't deal with things not going very well, whereas sportsmen do. That's just my bias. But anyway, sorry, Bruce, I interrupted. It's normally you interrupting me,
no,
but
it's a good point, Steve. But back to Jack. So I asked him, "Mate, do you golf?" And he was like, "Well, his eyes got real pie-eyed." And he goes, "Yeah, I do." I go, "Well, mate, do you have your own sticks? Make sure you bring them up, and I'll take you out to Royal and Ancient Capera, and we'll plant some spuds." So he was into it, and then who was it next to him? I think it was Callum Dalton. Like, I'd like to play. You got to have your own sticks, man. I don't have enough sticks to, we can't play out of my bag because my bag's special.
Yeah, but
but
he's
I'm
six
looking
nine,
forward
mate. He's going to need some long sticks.
have to have made measurement. But no, I'm looking forward to him. And the resemblance to you, Nigel, is uncanny. I mean,
Correct.
I was when I was talking to him, I count like when he got excited, one eyebrow went up. When and I recognize that. So I'm assuming that Simone and you are going to be coming up to watch a few games, won't you?
100%. I'll be there more often than you think because also Mark Breaky's working for the Gold Coast now. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And Rattler and I are going to be going up and going to games, and we'll see Mark. And so it's more than just going to see Jack. It's seeing Mark, and now it seems like playing golf with you as well, Bruce.
There
So
you go.
I
Bring your
look forward to
sticks.
that as well.
Bring your sticks. We tried to get Mark to play because Clackers, who was also on Dave Claxton,
Yeah,
during the school holidays, we get together and we played, somewhere in between Gold Coast and Brisbane. We tried to get Mark, but his wife was coming up.
yeah, yeah.
So I said, that's a bullshit excuse. She could tag along.
Actually, it's a reason to go and play golf.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's a reason to go.
Perfect.
Well, mate, we look forward to you coming up here, and we'll get our group of mates that you know well. We're talking the Luke Gribbles, the Roger Smiths, the Lyndon Briefys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's our circle of mates, and a few of the boys that sort of played basketball with us, but maybe not at the national level. There's a few of those floating around, which I reckon you'll know as well. So I
Yeah,
reckon
fantastic.
we might be able to have a few beverages.
I'm no good though. I'll tell you, I had and this is where I don't feel comfortable talking about my career because some of my best mates are the best of all time, including Breaky and Andrew and Leonard and all these guys. And so for me to talk about my own basketball, I feel a bit. It's been a very humbling experience being around those guys all the time. But Leonard and Andrew turned 60 the other day or last month. And so what I do, I like to organise things. So I organised a golf day down to St Andrews. We got 12 of us went down and played. Then we went to the St Andrews Brewery pub and had a pizza and a beer. And Andrew plays every week with Leonard still on Tuesday morning. Andrew had 18 on one hole, right? he had 11. He had 11 shots in a bunker, and he was supposed to pick up and never did. But we love it. It sounds like we have got a similar scenario down here to what you have up there with your mates. All the basketball boys still stick together, and I'm sure we'll get a hit up there at some point.
Back to Chase. You said that 25 years, 63,000 hours
Yes,
of engaging with
more,
kids.
probably a bit more than that, but that's
Well,
that's how
how
many
many
hours a week.
coaches do you have now?
We've got 25 coaches. Not all of them are full time, but we have they're mostly just sessional coaches, so we employ them for the hour and a half. So the way that we get that, so we have 300 kids in our academies, and they train for 3 hours a week. So that's like 900 hours, and of kids on court. So
And Al
so
mentioned
that's
he
how we
still
extract.
does some sessions for you. Al
Who
Westover.
does?
Al Westover. Does he help?
Al jumps around a little bit. He's out at Box Hill, I think, and Al's one of my favorite. I've got an Al story if you want to hear it.
Love
And
it.
yeah, Al's one of my favorite Americans to ever come out here. Do you want to hear the story?
Please.
Yeah.
You'll like this, Bruce, because it's Al Westover down, to a T. And anyway, so years ago, I was involved with the Tigers seniors, and I recruited a guy called Rob Jones. I think it was called Rob Jones anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he
Oh,
was from
Jones.
St Mary's, and he came out here, and he was reported. He had the old Pacific shrink where he was supposed to be 6'8", and he gets here and he's 6'3" or whatever. And I picked him up from the airport and stuff. And anyway, he was a good guy, and he tried his best, but didn't really. We don't have budget. We have budgetary issues at the Tigers as well. And then Al comes up to you and goes, Nige, Rob Jones is a direct descendant of the Jonestown massacre. The guy, remember the Jonestown massacre? He goes, Nice, don't let him hand out the water, right? And I thought, that is hilarious. So anyway, that's my Al. And there's probably millions of other stories
Well, we had
Tiger.
a great chat with Al only a couple of weeks ago, so he will be dropping that soon. He was great. He was
I,
so
I
enjoyable.
remember I remember playing 3-on-3 with you, Andrew, and Ray Gunn, Gordon. And that's when I knew, Nigel, I'm done. I can't play with the length, the quickness, your passing ability. Of course, when you got Andrew, at the end of those things, it makes everybody look better. But I was thinking, I can't keep up. I would have been, because I'm 70 this year, I would have only been like 5 years. You guys would have been, I think, 16. I
Yeah,
would have been,
yeah.
I'm like, I can't, if this is the future's very bright and the future doesn't include me as a player. I can't.
And I miss seeing you play. I never really saw you as an athlete, Bruce, but my memories of you are as in my early days, and Steve may not be aware of this, but on a Wednesday night, it was the big VBA,
Yeah.
state championships in Melbourne, and it was a
Yep.
little bit like the NCAA, like the March Madness thing, where you could have a team from Siebel and they'd
Yep.
play against an NBL team. So any given Wednesday, you could have three NBL teams, maybe four, sometimes playing against each other, or playing against a local association team, and it was fantastic. And the old orange seats, and anyway, so there was like a crow's nest where there was a court announcer, and and, I've got a good sense of humour, and Bruce is hilarious. And I remember him, and I think there might have been some heavy duty Gatorades being consumed up there as well,
UDL, baby.
in, in the crow's nest.
How
And
Lindsay paid me
just
with
some of the things,
UDLs.
yeah. And then at the end of the night, he'd walk out and he'd be kicking all the UDL cans. They'd be falling down on the patrons and onto the seats. And it was some of the funniest memories are of Bruce doing that. And the Americans, getting back to Lindsay, who sort of sits over my shoulder here, the number of Americans that he brought out and essentially changed their lives. Not just the ones that you mentioned, Steve, has really been phenomenal. And the Americans coming to Australia have really been so beneficial to the development of Australian basketball, I think.
Oh, without a doubt. And it's different. It's different now. I guess the imports in those days, they're still here. Do you know what I mean? The, like all the guys in this era that we're talking about in the 80s, 90s, a great deal of them have made Australia their home. Whereas now the quality of the imports that come here, yes, Bryce Cotton's been here a long time, but they're all sort of signing on 1 year, aren't they? I think they're all looking for something bigger. Because I think the quality of the player that's turning up is unbelievable. Like I mean, I'm a big fan of where the NBL's got to. What do you think of the NBL today?
Well, I enjoy it. There's so many good positive things happening, and the crowds are back. The quality of the basketball's good. I think and I've got to be a little bit um, thoughtful on this, but I think the general quality of the Americans is fantastic, and I think you're right. They do use it as a bit of a stepping stone to maybe going back into Europe or Asia or back to the States for bigger contracts, and just getting that balance right between local content and the international content. I think is a challenge for the league, and me as someone who likes to see kids come through the system. I actually like to watch the Australians coming in. So,
Yeah.
but I also love watching the Americans as well. So it's kind of, have we gone too far with too many imports and the local kids aren't getting a go? I don't know. Maybe people with greater knowledge could answer that. But I watch the NBL for a mix of quality Americans and imports, and also the up and coming Australians.
In my head, could get away with having two imports. I think there's enough Aussie talent, and get two friggin' great imports. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think that
exactly.
I don't think that's going to change. But
Well, Man, we
But
got good Australia. Like I remember saying this a few years back. Al brought up the same point about two imports. So we have more opportunities, but it was specifically your son, Jack. I want to see Jack Purchase play. I want to
yeah,
see, I want to see Mark Brackey's son play. I want to see Callum Dalton play. I want to
Yeah,
see, I mean, it's not like we're short of talent. And this harks back to Lindsay's thing. I remember Mal Speed whining about not getting an opportunity. It's like, man, if you're good enough, you'll play.
yeah.
yeah,
Lindsay was all about, mate, it's going to improve competition. And I have nothing wrong with that, but I do want to see more opportunities. And then can I piss and moan just for a little bit?
Yeah, well, you normally do, so don't
The
stop. But
NBL one, right, should be a development league. I would not touch an NBL player, right, up here because at the pointy end of the season, they're not available. And so we have our grand final. The Brisbane Capitals are going against Southern Districts this weekend. That's best of three. First game's tonight. Steve's going. I can't. But, that should be the development league, right? And then I look
yeah,
at it like, hey, Larry, you own both. Like, can there's some way that we can either start the NBL one earlier? And that way, guys, that are on the bubble or they're
yeah,
trying to get there, they're not interrupted. They're not pulled away from one competition to go and play in the other. And I've got a real gripe about the NBL one select team that went over to Japan. Like,
yeah,
man, can't you take NBL one players and not NBL players? Because
yeah,
now you're really kind of harming or it's disrespectful. You know what I mean? All the work that you're doing over here and in this, I don't care what comp you're in, you want to win it or see how well you can do in it. But now we're going to just take a few of these players out of your program. Good luck.
well, the thing is, we want. I'm okay with the NBL. I really think it's great for the NBL players to go back down and play in the NBL one. I'd love them to. I know it's in a perfect world. Wouldn't it be great if they went back to their original clubs? But obviously they're chasing money. Um, but that aside, Bruce, why don't you share with Nigel your wonderful idea about because I think the NBL players should be able to play to the end of their conference, but then there's that national competition where none of the NBL players can play, right?
Boy,
Where North versus South. And remember, we got the idea of having um, like an all-star team from North and Nigel, but no NBL players, right? And they play in a little tournament to finish it off, right? Rather than have this, like last year, there was a team selected in the finals that didn't even make the final four because one of the teams couldn't go. No NBL players were playing. It was just shit, you know?
that was Mackay. They were made up of NBL player, and so they got to the point where this national tournament was meant to go on, and they couldn't field a team. And it was the same in the women's side, like so Southern Districts went and represented, they weren't the champion. Um, I like that idea, no imports either, just Australians.
Yeah, so the final tournament, Nige, would be NBL North versus NBL East, but no NBL players, or maybe no one in the top 10, right? And no imports, and they just play a little tournament, and there's a national champion.
yeah. It is a bit strange, but I suppose there's a lot of smart people running these leagues now. I'm sure this conversation has been had, but as an example, in 2 weekends they have the tournament in Canberra, and Knox, who won it last year, are not fielding a team in that tournament because all of their players have either gone or they're in the NBL. So that's an example of what we're talking about. Probably the season should be done and dusted by now. It should
Yes.
be maybe a few weeks prior, and then there's a demarcation from NBL one finish, go to NBL and whatever it may be. But I'm
Yeah.
sure they're discussing this. They're not knuckleheads, and surely it's something they're discussing, and maybe they'll fix it in the future.
Well, it's just not right to start it. you're
Yeah.
playing in a team, and like I felt sorry for not McKinnon, Sammy
McDaniel.
McDaniel, sitting watching his team play, and he's been such a contributor to that team in the last few years. And here he is while they're playing the final game against Sunshine Coast last weekend. He's just sitting on the bench watching because he's not allowed to play. You know,
Yeah.
Here, news flash, breaking news. He's got plantar fascia. So that's
uh,
why he's not playing. So, I mean,
but he did,
that's
but
smart. Let
okay,
him rest that and let that thing heal before the, NBL season starts.
okay.
Can we pivot?
He's also Jack's roommate now. Jack's living with Sam McDaniel now, which is a full loop. I remember Wayne McDaniel knocked me out in Hobart one time with his elbow, so I said that to Jack as well. So when you see his dad, punch him in the guts for me, will you? So,
If he
Well,
comes up, if he does come up. Time to pivot. I want to talk about your MC, which you just do a great. I remember I was down working at Knox in 2010, and you MC'd I think it was a basketball Victoria Awards night.
okay.
Man, you're good at this. The flow, and you know, do you have an agent?
Oh, I don't have an agent. I do it for nothing, so it's not like it's I only do stuff that I've got an interest in, Bruce. So anything to do with basketball, I'm happy to do and donate my time and I've got my business, but I need to do things that have some purpose and so I'm not necessarily motivated by the money for that. But I appreciate you saying that because that's a nice thing to say.
You're very talented and very witty. And you get, when Pete's Bar, the one that we came 2019, it was the Giants 30-year or 40-year, and the Saints 50-year or 40-year, and we had well over 100 people there, and to be able to keep the crowd going, you know what I mean, and with your wit and with your good questions. So obviously, unlike Steve, you do research. Boom.
So,
By the way, your graphic behind us, mate, you got you. Who is that other guy?
that's you.
Fuck.
It's Popovich, isn't it?
There you go. So
Wow.
that I just made that up just to annoy him, Nigel, and I think it's working well.
It looks like a potato.
I've only been fortunate to attend one Pete's Bar, and you were the MC, Nigel, and you were excellent. Would have been, oh God, Pete Marshall was still living in Melbourne, so it would have been, God, 15, 20 years ago. But I had the best time, and God, it's just a who's who of basketball at that event. Um, yeah, incredible. I mean, obviously Melbourne people know about the Pete Spa big time. No, do you want to explain, because we have a lot of coaches from other parts of the country as part of our listeners? Because I don't know if you know, Nigel, we're the #1 basketball podcast in Australia.
Yeah.
Did you know
I didn't
that?
know that. I didn't know that, but I'm
Oh, well,
happy.
we just keep saying it, and no one's told us incorrectly. So we're just going to keep running with it. But
Keep it going, mate. I believe you.
yeah, well, tell us, just tell for the listeners, to explain in Pete's Bar. You'll do a better job than me and
Well,
Bruce.
and I've got this piece of memorabilia here, which is Lindsay's Australian thing. I've got it over to my right, Bruce. You will love this. Janet Gaze's husband made out of the right wing, the right elbow of the canteen end of court one, made a coffee table, which is about 1.5 meters by 1 meter. And it's got the old blue paint, and it's when Albert Park was pulled down, Bruce, we went down there with the circular saws and we cut out all these pieces of timber and he put it together and made this beautiful table for me. And if you're ever in Melbourne, come in and have a look at it because it's fantastic. But the reason I say that is that way back when Bruce and I were growing up, the mecca for Australian basketball was the Albert Park Basketball Stadium. And it sounds pretty salubrious, but it wasn't. It was an old sort of aircraft hangar, and there was badminton and table tennis in the adjacent venues. And And the Gazers, Lindsay was the general manager of the VBA, and this is folklore now. And there was a house that was attached to this venue, the basketball venue with 9 courts, and they used to live in there. And Andrew grew up in there, so Andrew's backyard was 9 basketball courts, and so the Gazers eventually moved out of that because for whatever reason they moved over to St Kilda, and then it was converted into a bar, and the bloke who ran it, and Bruce might be able to add to this because I never went in there, by the way, but the bar was run by a bloke called Pete, who I don't even know who he is. So anyway, so the venue gets pulled down to commemorate that bar, but also the historic nature of Albert Park Basketball Stadium. We started a luncheon under the guise of Andy Blitzarves and Glenn Bynes and all these blokes, and Tracy Browning, and all these just great basketball people. And we've been doing a luncheon for I dare say about 20 years. And initially it was Stephen Quartermain who might have hosted it, and then the late great Clinton Grievous did it, and then I've been hosting it for maybe 15 or 16 years. There you go. And there's our logo and our emblem. Dean Templeman actually put that together. Dean Templeman's a Converse man, and he got the Chuckies in there to be part of our. So we have about 150 people come along once a year. We have different guests that come in, and we talk to them and chat to them. And we've had the who's who of Australian basketball, to be honest. And we just sit around, talk for a bit, and raffle some stuff off. And it's a fundraising thing, so we give away some money to people that are less fortunate than us. And I host it, but we all pay for our ticket, and that's kind of the motto of what we do. And it's a really good day. And just like this podcast, I feel really comfortable with it because I know the people and they're pretty much my friends. So it's pretty easy when you're in this environment where you're not being judged necessarily to have a bit of fun and be a little bit irreverent and talk about basketball. And it's not like I need to do a lot of research because I'm in it and I know the people and I take a genuine interest in the various topics that go around our sport.
It's in November, am I right?
Yes, I think it's November 28th this year.
Right. Okay,
but Nigel, like this has evolved for us, that we're talking to some amazing people in basketball. It's just another vehicle that is keeping alive the history of the game, and the history in Victoria is incredible. Obviously, the Gazers' contribution, but to hear that story about how they lived in the house and it became a bar, and now once a year you're having a raising. I just think it's awesome. I take my hat off to you guys for keeping it going the way you have. We don't have anything equivalent up here, unfortunately. I just think that Albert Park, I've heard Bruce, I've heard Gorge, everyone just talk about it with such great memories. You can see their faces light up when they talk about it. It's incredible.
Yeah, and probably one of the highlights was on and this is me growing up, and I grew up in the sort of northeastern suburbs of Melbourne, and it was time for me to change clubs. And then my history with the going from one club to another was I heard through a mate out in Eltham, why don't you try Melbourne? So this is one of my sliding door moments. Like we've all had sliding door moments, and Bruce coming to Australia is a massive slide. I'm sure that changed his life as well. And so it's okay. We're going to go and play at Melbourne. So my dad and I drive in my first game, and then go to the canteen and get your uniform, right? So this lady brings out the uniform, and Bruce probably wore these. It was like a piece of freaking cardboard. the letters were this big. It's like, and Margaret Gaze had made them, right? And so I was number 12, which I'll stay with me forever. And she'd say, "Here's your uniform." And these days, probably pretty trendy these days because you know how fashions evolve. But it was the stiffest piece of material I've ever had in my life. And then I said, "Can you take this guy to the game?" We had our first game down in Chelsea, and so this tall, skinny kid was there, and said, "Okay, we'll take him down." And then the whole way down to Chelsea, all this kid did, and I didn't know the history of the Gazers at that time. All he did was talk about his dad. My dad's this, my dad's that. And of course, that tall guy was Andrew Gaze. And then, so we played with Ray Gordon and Michael Dimatina and Andrew and Stephen Wallace. And Grant Saligari, and there's a few others I'm missing, so I apologize. Peter Kaplangian, right? So we had a bottom age, top age team that went all the way through from bottom age 16s to 20s, and we didn't lose a game in that 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we all made the NBL, and Andrew went on to become a superstar. And so we were playing bottom age for a year against the top age kids, and we were pretty good. Had a bit of talent in the team. And then Andrew starts dating my sister, and they get married. They have 4 kids, and so that's a nice part of the story as well. And then I've just been heavily influenced by the manner in which Lindsay and Andrew go about the sport, and always putting the sport first, and seeing the bigger picture of what the league's about or what the sport's about. Whilst the NBL and WNBL and the national teams are the shop front, I'm heavily involved in the back end and the development and trying to play a positive role in the lives of kids, which is a real honour for me.
Doing a great job of it. But what is Pete's Bar? Who are they raising money for this year?
Well, we kind of chop and change it every year. So in the past, like Ezzy Magdagor, if I'm saying that right, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. When she was a kid, she had some challenges to make the state team or to pay for a state team. So we give them a couple of grand to help them on their way. There's a big kid at the AIS right now. He's a 7-footer. I think he's got New Zealand heritage, and we gave some money away to them a couple of years. But it's only a couple of grand, but it does help. And there's a wheelchair basketball was one, and so it's not like it's the same thing every year. But we make a decision based on advice from Basketball Victoria on who is appropriate.
Okay.
And it is app. Because I get to see all these people, Mark Thompson, Cameron Groppe, when we were at, obviously Fisher, and the late Mark Leader. Mark told me that day that I go, man, you look great. You look like you did when you played. Where everybody else has got a pelt except for Fisher and Ray Borner. I guess I had a pelt. And he was saying, I haven't been feeling well. I can't keep anything down. And later we know he passed with pancreatic cancer. Cecil, the late great Cecil Exum, who played for both, the Giants and the Tigers. Seeing those guys brought back such great memories, and it just made me think. I told Glenn this, that we don't stay in touch enough. Wayne Carroll, now we speak more, and it all was an impetus through getting together at Pete's Bar. And of course, I see early every Monday. I see Brian, because I do some stuff with his academy, which is fun. He makes it's fun, and the kids are all in it. He's got 23 kids in it, and when it's fun. I remember this. I worked with Mark Wright. I got fired, of course. This one time I got fired was with Newcastle, with Hunter, and he brought me down and have a look at the program. Wayne was the GM. This is when the gentleman that owns Jayco Caravans, great bloke,
Gary Ryan. Yep, Gary Ryan.
And Wayne was telling, get out of this. This is not a moneymaker, right? And I came in with training, and it was just to observe and make everybody sitting down. Only as import. Bellinger and I can't remember the other guy. They're up shooting. Everybody else is sitting around like they're waiting at the dentist's office. And I told Mark, mate, that's not a good sign, right? We'd be playing horse, we'd be playing tip in. Guys, when they're having fun,
yeah.
The ball's bouncing, they're shooting the shit. They're not sitting there waiting for the start of practice. And I said, man, I don't know what, I'm just telling you, just from an observation point, that ain't a good sign.
Yeah.
So is it fun?
Well, Jerry Ryan still owns the Flyers, Bruce. Jerry Ryan is still involved. He owns the Southside Flyers in WNBL, and he's a massive contributor to Australian basketball.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's all about fun, isn't it? We're not. It's and two of the things that I'm most proud of is Andrew Parkinson, who I know has been on your podcast, and he's had I don't even want to guess, but it's probably a 7 or 8 year battle with cancer. And as part of the basketball community, I said to him one day, let's do a golf day, right? And so we ran a golf day. We had the Magic guys come, the Tigers guys come, and then we played golf, and then had a sportsman's day, and then we raised some good money for him, raised like 50 or 60 grand for him, and then we did the same thing for Corey Homicide Williams before he passed, and that was a real emotional day where you sit there and and I didn't really know Corey, but through Peter Hawley and Andrew and Copes and Kylie Hitchener at the NBL was fantastic, and we put that day together, and so that to me, I think a lot of people focus on winning and losing and championships and money and all that sort of thing, but that's one of those sort of things are the things that I really get a kick out of, and just sort of being part of the community. And it's the same with Beach Bar. When you come along, Bruce, and hopefully Steve come along again one day, and you see all these old faces, and you have a chat, and talk about the old times, and talk about how good you used to be. That to me, at our stage of life as well, is what it's about. Yeah. So it's definitely about, it's an important part of what we're doing, I think.
We've been fortunate to have some, as you know, a great list of people on our podcast. But it's just the common theme, Bruce. If the common theme about community, the common theme about the right thing to do by juniors, and that's coming through from all these, what I would call very significant people in basketball. And it brings me to something that I find a bit controversial, and you might be interested to see what you think of this, Nigel, is this individual coaching that has gained enormous traction, with people charging parents a lot of money to do individual sessions. We have a lot of it up here. Do you have it down there?
We do a little bit of it, but and I think it's necessary to a degree, because quite a lot of team sessions are kind of, with all due respect to a lot of their parents, they don't know what they're doing. So having someone who knows how to run a session can be of value. And we do individuals. We try to keep the cost down. So we're like, we're a bottom feeder as far as the price
Yeah,
scale.
so I'm a big fan of people doing individuals. I just think I'm concerned about the people that are taking advantage of
Yeah,
the parents out
happen.
there, like charging $50 an hour, and they've got 5 kids standing there, and they're
Yeah,
at 250 bucks an hour to run a session that they've just Googled. And, yeah, really good. You can dribble through some cones and do a drag dribble, but does that really relate to helping you be a better player? But there's
yeah,
also that part about, which you have brought up on numerous occasions, about being good people. Um,
yes.
I'm just a fan of hearing it coming out from another one of our great guests, Bruce, that it's the right way. Bruce and I have come up with the idea, Nigel, of that, because the state bodies don't do anything, that maybe the local association should run a 1 or 2 day course on. I don't care if you're level 1 or level 2. That means jack shit when it comes to doing individuals. And they could put on their website, say, hey, these 10 people have done our course, and as an association, we have no problem. You know what I mean? So the parents can find the right people to choose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, before I came on, I googled Bruce Palmer basketball, and he's charging $600 an hour. So that's
I don't have. Here's a good thing. I remember Brett Brown, great coach, Brett. He was.
yeah.
I
I
got him
had
from
lunch with him
Philly.
last week. He was in town.
Really? What's he? So
Yes.
I know his son. Is his son in college now?
His son is making a lot of money. You know how the NIL has changed the collegiate stuff. His
Yeah.
son's making a lot of money, and I'm thinking it's Davidson. Maybe it might be Davidson. I'm not
Nice.
sure, but
Great.
Brett's in a good
That's great.
spot. He's a European scout for the Spurs, and does his thing.
Yeah. Well, he made a really good point, and I got it through Billy Tomlinson when we were all in China together. That if you're going to do individuals, right, small group, then you got to, in Brett's work, gamify it. right?
Yep.
Now you put it in with defense, or if you do, put it in with offense. What you just
Yes.
worked on, let's see if you can apply that now, or else Calvin Sampson, the coach at Houston, said, "Mate, it's great. Nobody's defending you. I mean,
Yeah.
all
Right.
of that,
Yeah.
spin, dude, and we break down drills. We have Tatum, Doncic, Westbrook that are all vitamins that we want them to do, but now you play one-on-one and you're limited to one dribble. So you have to
Yeah.
gamify it. And that was one of the many things that I learned through Brett. And that's good to hear. Here's an interesting story. Prior to Ed Gorgon's passing, he called me out of the blue on a Sunday, and we were talking about talent identification. And he was the one that told me, Bruce, a lot of coaches get fired over thinking they've got an athlete, right?
Mm.
Look at Davidson. He goes, look at Davidson, look at Creighton. Those kids, the number one thing do they love the game? And if they
Yeah.
do, they'll put in the work, right?
Yes.
And they will get, to that level of where they're playing at their very best. And that stuck with me. And now that would have been 4 or 5 years ago. That, man, did they love it? And I remember I was talking to Jeff, I'm going to drop names, Jeff Van Groningen, about Keanu Pinder when he played at Adelaide, and Jeff was involved at Adelaide. And I asked him, I go, Jeff, does he love the game? And I got a lot of time for JVG. He went kind of quiet, and he goes, well, he enjoys it. We all
There's
enjoy it.
there's a difference.
Is he going to put in the work? And I remember, nobody's put in the work like Andrew did. You did when you guys were juniors. You're gym rats. And Ray Gunn, they all, you look at that why are they doing? Because they love it. And they want to get better. They want to find out how good they can be. So that sticks. Now, if Brett's kid's at Davidson, he's in a good school. That Derek Roberts' alma mater. The kid the Korean kid that just left, he's going to be playing in Japan, just left Illawarra.
Lee.
Yes.
He's a Davidson kid.
Is he a Davidson kid too?
He's a Davidson kid.
Okay.
Right. So, skilled shooter, but good size, and now he's getting a good payday playing in Japan. It's great. It's great to see. We're just going to waffle on a little bit. Mike Kelly and Sammy Mack are both at the Shenzhen Aviators. And that's the team that Gorgon and Jacob Jackomas were all tied with. And I just got a message today from the guy who was my superior with NBA China, Greg Stolt. They're really cutting down on wages. What they're doing now is they'll bring an import out for a month, right? And then they'll have a string of maybe 4 or 5 import. There's no limits you could bring them out the day before the finals. So,
is that right?
Yeah, and I know you've had a lot of trips to China, right? With the Tigers?
Yes. Yes.
So is that relationship still going on? You guys, well, now you're not the Tigers, but how about with Chase?
There's 2 tours that, and quite often, sometimes it's just purely Tigers, and sometimes it's a hybrid of Tigers and other players. You've got to put a team together, and they go away for play 8 or 10 games in a 2-week period or whatever. So it comes down to availability. But yeah, the Gazers love China, and Andrew and their contacts in China. I've been the benefactor of their relationships, really, because I get to tag along and had some really interesting experiences over there. And so, yeah, we love it. It's an eye-opener. I always love coming back to Australia after it. And it's what a great experience and things that basketball has afforded me.
Well, Sammy and Mike, they both go, what should I know about China? I said, well, first thing, bring Lomatril. Right, you're gonna have diarrhea, mate. Like it's unavoidable because they don't wash dishes. We were at the Hyatt. We had a Christmas dinner at the Hyatt. Billy and Ping and Brian and Amanda and Gemma came out. My kids were out. Carol was out, and we had a buffet at the Hyatt. Everybody was sick the next day. And it's not because the food was fine; it's the plates and this. You know what I mean? And we don't want to get down that road. I don't want to be Walter Matthau, but it's different. And now that even coaches' salaries have been cut, that was interesting that they're starting to become a little more financially prudent.
Bruce, tell
You
me
know,
this. Tell me if this story's true. I heard because Brian spent a number of years over there as well, but I heard, and once again, you hear stories, you don't know if it's true or not. But I hear that I'm not sure if Brian was coaching in Guangzhou or wherever it was the Dragons or something. I might be wrong. Anyway, but the team wasn't performing well, and the owner says to Brian, go and kick their ass, go and kick their ass." And in Australia, that means get on them and yell at them and blah. And he goes, Brian says, and this is me paraphrasing, "Yeah, I am. I'm being aggressive." He goes, "Nah, you got to kick their ass." And he came down out of the stands and got the players and started actually kicking them in the ass. Is that a true
Nigel,
story or
the
is that
very
folklore?
first game I went to in Dalong, this is before they moved to Shenzhen. At the end of the first quarter, first off, the stadium's filled with smoke. Everybody's smoking. And I
Nice.
see this guy walk across the court, lighting up a grit, and he goes over and he punches Brian's backup point guard in the head. I'm thinking, what in God's name is going? And then after the game, we came back, and they won the game. And I go, "Brian, who was the guy?" He goes, "That's the owner. He owns the team." And he was telling Brian, "Yeah, hit him." And that was the thing I had at the NBA school. I'm the only white guy there, right? Coaches are smacking, throwing balls at him, kicking him. I said, "Mate, great way to get me fired. Keep doing that because this is the NBA school, baby. They aren't into the corporal punishment, um, much less pinching a loaf and in a drain." I'm at the Shenzhen airport and I'm waiting for my luggage with my translator. And I look over and a little kid's pinching a loaf. And then right behind him is the toilet. It's like, where are we, mate? It's different. Great learning experience. But for me, it was always great because there was Brian and Billy, Jacob. I got to know and love Jake Jackomas. Brilliant basketball minds. Then, of course, Craig Simpson came along and not happy with that guy. With what happened there with Al Westover at Knox is enough to make me spew. But am I right? Does Andrew coach the Tigers?
He does, and because it's our club or his club and family club. It's all our club, and he coaches the NBL one team. He got back last night from Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. He's been commentating over there, so he
Yes.
missed last week's game, and it was a really interesting game, and Tommy Wilson was fantastic at 42, but Jack hit a massive shot to win the game for him, and then took a rebound. It was it's actually the Tigers as a club, Bruce, and you know the Tigers as well as anyone. It's been an interesting club in that there's been the girls program, boys program, senior program, and they haven't really talked to each other until about 3 or 4 years ago. So now the whole junior club, senior club is managed by the one through John Maddox, his board. The whole thing's been changed. And there's a real feeling of club, which I haven't seen for a long time, since
Okay.
the NBL days. And so juniors are coming, seniors are coming, and it's just a really nice feeling at the moment, and I hope that continues into the future.
I did not know that for our listeners, John Maddox was the CEO of Basketball Australia for a while.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, president. I think he was a president or chair or whatever. I don't think he wasn't in the operations side of things.
President.
He was the boss.
Yeah, president. He was and an Olympian and a teammate of mine. I remember he cracked a few of my teeth. He looked for that opportunity to cheap shot. You come off that double screen, whack, spitting out teeth. They're like, God, John. But he brought a level of intensity, so that's great that he's still contributing. Obviously, he loves the game. and it's great that the Tigers,
Yeah, that's really good to hear about the Tigers. That I mean, I've only known the Tigers from afar, and I've just always thought that that was part of the Tigers' success is the history of it. It's and it's interesting when you talk to someone, you're in the middle of it, but it's good to hear that you feel it's heading in the right direction. Can I reverse pivot and want to ask you something but again, I just want to prove my research. You're involved with the NBL in relation to bowel cancer. Can you explain that to me?
Well, it's in the machinations right now. But Corey Homicide Williams died of bowel cancer.
Yes.
Peter Hawley, Peter Hawley, who's with the NBL, his mother died of bowel cancer. And as I live in East Idaho in Melbourne here, and one of our very, very good friends is a guy called Dr. Peter Gibbs, who's a leading world oncologist, and his focus is bowel cancer. And we're mates and so I said to him one day, why don't we do something? Why don't we do a golf day, like we did for Parky and Homicide? And so we brought what I'm okay at is bringing people together to then talk about stuff, and then the group makes things happen. And so we're in the process of coming up with a plan for a awareness program and also a fundraising program. Dr. Peter Gibbs runs a 60 strong research group for research into bowel cancer and how to cure bowel cancer. But the other side of it is to raise awareness. So at our age we get these packs in the mail where you've got to, what do you call it, pinch a loaf, Bruce?
Pinch a loaf into it, yeah, set it off, yeah. Ooh.
Pinch a loaf, and we've all got health issues, and I hope you guys are well at the moment. But yeah, so right now only 39% of those packs that are sent out are used. And if we can get that up to 45% of those packs being used, then the figures and the data shows it will save 500 lives a year. And
wow.
So if we can use the sport to
As a platform.
get people to actually do something, and say, well, and I'm not saying it's just going to be basketball that can do that, but if you can play a role to get people to go and do that. And then, so we're in the process of coming up with a plan. We're looking at a Legends game in February next year that we can invite people down to. And I get a lot of enjoyment out of that because I'm well networked within the sport, and I can bring people together for a good cause, and just see what happens with that.
I just love it. I just love it, Nigel. Just good people doing good things like your academies that you're running, and 25 years, just 63,000 hours, mate, incredible stuff. And I just think of all the young people that you've influenced, like all your organization, I'm sure you've influenced many yourself personally, but the group that you're putting together, like having 25, 30 coaches, unbelievable stuff. It's, I just think it's great. I feel quite chuffed talking again to you and all these other legends that we've spoken to, and the putback that they're putting back into basketball is incredible. And you're just
Well, I
one
feel
of those
lucky.
pioneers. And
Yeah, I feel lucky because when I was growing up, I did some jobs, and they were jobs. You're digging holes and all that sort of thing. And so whenever you feel sorry for yourself, you look around the room and you look at what other people are doing, and I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like this is if there was if there was no money, I'd still be doing it. And I'm sure Bruce is the same way. You sort of take a whole lot of enjoyment out of helping people. And I know a lot of the people that Bruce coached, and Bruce was at times a controversial coach. He was highly passionate, but they still everyone loves him, and he talked to Zop and Cam and all these, and Paul Maley and all these people, and they love him. And so you don't know the influence you're having at the time, and that the influence might come back in 20 years or 30 years, and they'll say, well, I remember when you told me to do this, or whatever it may be. So the impact you can have as a coach is quite significant, and essentially we're forming confidence levels in kids, and I think that's a really good thing to do in society. Yeah, I don't
I
want
think
to
it
sound like I'm
is.
preaching or anything. but we're very lucky to be able to do it.
I think a lot of these players are very lucky to have you involved, man.
Absolutely.
What you're doing. And I just love it when Andrew, because I keep looking back when Andrew, I think he played his first BBA game. We were playing Geelong. I think he was 15 and held his own. And I made this kid special. He's going to be so special. But what you're giving back to the game
is also
Chase and in what you're doing with Pete's Bar and this thing, what you did for Corey and for Parky.
Incredible.
Parky and I stay in touch because I've had some health issues. That Parky was there supporting me all the time, and I think it's just great, man. And the game, it's another pathway too that a lot of our listeners. And a lot of the young kids that we get to coach and whatnot, it's not just playing. It can be a lifelong endeavor. Dunlap mentioned that lifelong learning, and that's the great thing about the coaching aspect of it. But it's a lifelong opportunity to contribute, and you're doing a great job of it. And we just hope that this helps promote you and Chase. And then when you come up, make sure you bring your sticks. Does Rattler play?
Rattler does music baseball. I remember that. Bruce used to go to Port Melbourne baseball. Remember Big Matt, I was trying to think of his surname, Matt, and Gorgian played down there. Baseballers are very risky. So he'll be aiming here with the flags there, but he'll be aiming over there because he slices the hell out of it. So but Mark's a good player. And on Sunday, Jack was up there in Brisbane this week, but he's moving up there and taking his car. So he and I are driving to Sydney. I'll make sure his clubs are in the car, and then he's going to continue on, and I'm coming back to Melbourne. So
is he coming up?
I'll make sure he's got his clubs.
Is he coming up the coast or New England Highway?
Yeah, he's going to go up the coast. I thought we'd go via Sydney. I know it takes a few hours off if you go up through the middle, but I love driving, so I'll be driving up there with Rattler a little bit and seeing you blokes. So make sure you book a tea time for me.
I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up. I think it's time we tie this into a bow, Stevie boy.
Yeah, and well, I'll let you finish it off. But no, thanks. It's so great talking to you, mate. It's so easy to have a conversation with me. What you're doing for the game, thank you. And I appreciate you coming on our podcast, mate.
Well, I'm honoured that you had me on. I saw the names on there, and I'm so honoured to be in that sort of group of people that you've spoken to. So thanks very much, boys.
Well, we're going to do our best to both promote Chase and Pete's Bar November 28th. Going to make sure I send Lindsay a birthday note. I got Margaret, who was just a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, it was.
I had a chance to speak to Lindsay. If that's on me, because I love the man and what he's done for me. But good on you, Nigel Purchase, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. You're an absolute champion, Nigel Purchase.
Call Lindsay, Bruce. Call him. He'd love to hear from you for sure.
I'm on it I'll get all over it tomorrow, right after Brisbane Grammar's game against State High. All my future barristers and engineers are going to get in the stance and pin those ears back.
But it's $600 an hour, Bruce. They're lucky to have you.
Thank you, Nigel.
See you, buddy.